for Market podcast.
Amazing. Etsy stores, slowly
weird.
picking up, I feel like.
The most surprising thing sold. I don't know if I should give my secret away.
Well, it'll be a couple months before this goes out. I'm sure you'll have a new secret by then.
Yeah, the thing is that sometimes something doesn't sell on your farmer's market stand, and then you put it on Etsy and it sells out.
It does not sell at the market.
It's like the best case scenario for us too, because we're like, one thing that wouldn't sell here, but now will sell here.
It helps you identify your market, and that's, I think, a lot of marketing is like identifying who wants your product and then telling the story of how is your product going to benefit them? How is it going to solve their problem?
Okay.
So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about marketing.
So something that you have on there is selling really well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just tell you guys.
Hello and welcome to the Growing for Market podcast, where we talk about growing, marketing, and the business of growing vegetables and flowers for local markets like farmers markets, CSAs, farm stands, and local wholesaling. I'm Katie Kulla, your host and a writer for Growing for Market magazine. For 33 years, the magazine for flower and vegetable market farmers. If you're enjoying the podcast, just wait till you see the magazine. Go to growingformarket.com for more. Also, if you could give us a follow and a rating, it really helps other like-minded people find the podcast.
I don't know about you, but I got into farming to grow food and connect with my customers, not to spend my time glued to a desk. If I could spend less time in spreadsheets and more time out in the field, that would be a win. Enter Farmhand. Farmhand is the only all-in-one virtual assistant built by and for CSA farmers. With tools like custom websites, done-for-you newsletters, CSA member support, flyers and QR codes, customer billing, and more, Farmhand takes care of the admin so you can focus on what you love. And here's the best part. You can learn how it works directly from Farmhand founder Ari Memar. If you're a longtime listener of this podcast, you've probably heard Ari as a guest, sharing his expertise alongside inspiring success stories from the farmers he's helped. As both a hobby farmer and a tech expert, Ari understands your challenges firsthand. He spent years simplifying complex systems to make farming easier and more profitable for growers like you. On average, Farmhand saves CSA farmers 6 to 10 hours a week. That's up to 10 extra hours to spend with your family, in the field, or simply taking a breather. In a complimentary one-to-one demo, Ari will share his wealth of knowledge and show you exactly how Farmhand can streamline your operations, grow your CSA, and help you stay competitive in today's market. Don't miss this opportunity to connect with someone who truly understands the challenges of small farms and has the tools to help you succeed. Book your complimentary demo today at farmhand.partners/GFM. That's farmhand.partners/GFM. Local Line is the most popular software platform for farmers and food hubs selling direct to consumer. With features like e-commerce, inventory management, subscriptions, and box builder, Local Line helps you grow sales, save time, and streamline your operations. In fact, last year, farms that used Local Line grew their sales by 23%. Ready to switch to a proven sales software that does it all? Local Line has no setup fees, no commissions, and will migrate your storefront for free, so you'll be up and running in no time. As a GFM podcast listener, Local Line is offering a free premium feature for 1 year with your subscription using the coupon code GFM2025. Don't wait. Start your season off the right way with Local Line.
Hello, everyone. Today I am talking with Corinne Hansch of Lovin Mama Farm, an organic regenerative farm in Amsterdam, New York. Corinne started Lovin Mama Farm in 2011 with her husband, Matthew Leon, who is surprising me by also being here today, so we'll get to hear from him too. Today, they grow 400 plus varieties, including vegetables, microgreens, cut flowers, perennials, and pastured eggs. They grow and market year-round directly to their customers at 5 regional farmers markets and now on a new Etsy shop. They just got their processed food license this past year and started a line of value-added products, including salsas, jams, pickles, dried herbs, and dried chilies, all made with excess produce from the farm. Lovin Mama Farm has focused on building a business that is economically sustainable year-round so they can keep themselves and their crew employed year-round as well, while at the same time regenerating environmental and community health with healthy soil and healthy food. Corinne was also named Northeast Organic Farming Association of New York's Farmer of the Year very recently. So congratulations on the well-deserved honor, Corinne, and
Thank you.
welcome. I'm so glad to have both of you here today.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Yay! So let's start at the beginning, you two. You have a lot of farming experience at this point, including farming on both coasts, which I want to talk about. Like, you're in New York now, but I know you've farmed elsewhere too. Please tell us about how you came to farm and operate Lovin Mama Farm.
Well, basically in California, we started our farm, Lovin Mama Farm, when we were given access to a friend of ours' land in Potter Valley, which is a big agricultural valley in California, one of the last flood irrigated valleys in the United States, actually. So it's a beautiful agricultural valley, and our friend bought 300 acres there, and we were given the opportunity to farm that land when we asked him for a lease. So that's when we started our farm. You know, we had had a lot of dreams about doing this for a long time, and I studied agriculture before that as well. And we provided food and flowers to the Mendocino County farmers markets for 4 years there.
It was 5.
5 years. Unfortunately, the lease was ended abruptly before it was taken to term by our landowner, and we had to vacate the farm and move our whole farm across the country after that time. So at which point we tried to do fundraising. We tried to raise money to stay in the county that we started our farm. It just was too exorbitantly expensive with the land prices. We saw ourselves getting, if we did that, being caught in a entanglement of deep debt and never possibly being able to get out of it, really, honestly. So my dad had offered us the opportunity to farm his land in upstate New York, and we decided to go for that, knowing that we'd have his support and a free lease for that land. So that's when we made our move in 2016 to upstate New York. And since that time, we've been farming successfully here in upstate and dealing with a whole new gamut of environmental and, climate differences, which is also changing as well under our feet as well. So yeah, here we are in New York, very happy to be here and doing a great farmers market run here.
Yeah, the big difference between Mendocino County and the capital region of upstate New York is just population. So Mendocino County, I love to share the fact that it's the size of 2 small states, Rhode Island and Delaware, in square footage, but the population is only, I think, 90, I'm not sure where it is now,
probably
but
100,000 or so.
Very small population. And then now in our region, there's 1 million plus people. We just have a different market here, and it is more competitive with other, there weren't really a lot of organic. Farming is pretty popular in California. Obviously, it's the breadbasket of the US. It's a great place to farm, but I don't know. New York has just had a lot of support, more grant opportunities. I feel like land trusts are a little more developed out here. Yeah, there's just bigger markets, more people, bigger markets to access. So our farm really scaled quickly, I think, because we had a large customer base. We kind of miraculously got into the Troy Waterfront Farmers Market. Little shout out for our hometown market, which is just an amazing market, one of the biggest regional markets in upstate. And it's just been a thriving marketplace for us. But I think bringing our West Coast energy has been just a fun part of our presence here, and just, having really great customer service and just being nice and friendly and growing a lot of kind of new, weird foods, and also holding a high standard for our food and knowing that it's really valuable and that we're certified organic, certified real organic project as well. So we have that added certification, and, just really wanting to actually do the work of being a regenerative farmer is very expensive.
Yes, it is. It turns out.
And fruit and veg get so few subsidies. I'm kind of going deep right into it, but it's a big battle. As a small organic farmer, it's really hard for us to access subsidies. And so, I've kind of become outspoken on the matter a little bit. We're close to the capital of New York. We're close to Albany. So I'm in a position where I can go to Albany, and it feels really powerful to be just to realize our value as farmers. And we can talk more about that. That was kind of my keynote speech was about that.
I was like, I feel like this might be some of what Corinne was talking about at these recent winter conferences, which we'll talk about. So, okay, so you landed in New York in 2016. Is that what you said, Matthew? But so you had already had a good chunk of farming experience under your belt. So did it feel different to be starting from scratch, but have had that experience? Or was being in a new climate just such a different thing that it almost felt like starting over? I mean, what did that feel like?
I feel like the climate really, even though it's very different in that the winter's a lot harsher, we found that we sort of had very similar planting dates to what we used to have, obviously a little varied, but we're able to grow the same crops. And actually, where we were, the nighttime temps would get so low that we noticed we needed to cover a lot of things with greenhouse material or remay of such to get good food production on the melons and the peppers and whatnot. It's actually warmer at night here, which was, I mean, it makes sense with humidity. That's the case, but that benefit really, we were like, wow, tomatoes ripen really well here. They're doing great. It's really not that much different from California.
Except for the rain.
Okay, so the rain in the summer, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference, right? I mean, I'm on the West Coast, like where you used to be, and that's just like you have to irrigate. So is the rain a positive? Is it a challenge? What's your take on it coming from the West Coast?
I'd say it's mainly a challenge because when there's too much of it, you can't turn it off.
Right.
And we've lost crops to too much rain over extended periods. That never used to happen to us unless I overwatered, of course. And we have to respond to there being drought here as well. So we still have an irrigation system, but we've also had to install drainage, which was a huge cost. Literally, you dig a hole on our land and a foot down, the water table's right there.
Oh, wow.
At wet times of the year in general. So
we have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
But I think it's our experience on the West Coast kind of prepared us for these little mini droughts that we keep experiencing upstate New York here. And like, I think a lot of the Northeast where we're getting these longer dry periods in the fall. Yeah. Some local farmers like wells that have been going forever have just been drying up. So you just in like climate change, you really have to be prepared with infrastructure.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, irrigation and drainage. But also we just have to be versatile with, but it's another cost of farming is all these infrastructure.
I was just wondering if starting the farm over, if it felt different with all that experience from the first time.
What I was going to say about that was that I noticed that the things that we did bring from our previous farm were the knowledge and the experience of having built things infrastructure wise and, having to deal with the decisions you make when you do those things. We also had a small operation at our house in Ukiah before we moved to that farm in California. We had our own little nursery and we were designing and changing that house and the landscape around it to work with that nursery. So it wasn't just that one farm. We've actually started more like 3 farms really before we in total. Then that's often the case with people who work with the earth, right? They get involved in a project, they don't own the land, but then they have to move, but they get to keep their experiences. And this is, I think, a big message from our life is that remember that you get to keep all that knowledge and you get to build from that point onward. And so when you do restart, like we did when we moved to New York, we had a fair amount of experience setting up water systems, buildings, fences, greenhouses, having to have roads to everywhere so you could get places, which, by the way, the climate here with mud season, it's definitely one of those things. You have to have roads to be able to access places or you're going to be spending a lot of time stuck, which is not. So yeah, the know-how is worth millions of dollars really, and we came with so much of that when we started here, we were like, wow, now we get to do it right. Now we get to do it right the first time because we know enough. And, of course we've made mistakes and we're
always experimenting still.
That's
But
the fun of it.
all in all, we've done really darn good. Everything is working really well. So I take that as a win where we got to bring our experience. And that really was a huge thing when it comes to building a new farm, is the experience of, how am I going to design this? How am I going to do that? What's the system going to look like? How are people going to move in that room when they're processing the vegetables? Where does it go next? All those things. We finally got to do it right. And now we get to live with that beautiful system that we've created, which fortunately for us is working out.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations. That sounds awesome. I mean, when I think about starting a farm again, on one hand, it sounds really exhausting, but you're right. All those mistakes that we make because we can't picture the long-term consequence of XYZ. It's awesome to get to start over. And were you familiar with the land from growing up, Matthew? Is this land that you grew up on, or is it something they bought later?
Yeah, this is a place where I grew up coming here from a very young age. I was here before I was even born, probably. So yeah, this is a piece of land that I love. It's beautiful up here. It's 120 acres. There's a nature reserve on the property. My father has decided to have an easement on the property with a nature conservancy organization, so that there's actually an easement on the property. It's protected for indemnity. There's a nature trail on the property. It's 2 miles of walking trails that is open to the public. So it's a very park-like setting. The public is welcome here. It's really a bastion for eco everything. We have the organic farm, the regenerative farm here. We have a nature trail. We have a nature preserve that the nature trail goes through. You're forest bathing, walking on this beautiful trail. We make maple syrup. There's sugar maple trees. We didn't have that on the West Coast either. So there's a lot of benefits to it. It's a beautiful piece of property. We're so blessed to be here.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And now let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. It's with their generous support that we can bring you the podcast for free.
Today's episode of the Growing for Market podcast is brought to you by BCS America. On our farm, we've had our BCS two-wheel tractor for over a decade, and with no belts to slip, its all-gear-driven construction is still going strong. Though we originally got it for rototilling, we kept it even when we went mostly no-till because it can do so many other things around the farm. From snow blowing, to making raised beds with the rotary plow, to chipping wood, it can do just about anything you might need on a farm with the right attachment. Need to shred a cover crop? A BCS flail mower will make quick work of even the most vigorous cover crop and chop it up so it breaks down quickly. Want to stir in compost or amendments without inverting soil layers? A power harrow turns your BCS into a precise tilthing machine with depth control so you don't mix deeper than you want to. With so many attachments to choose from, it truly is the Swiss Army knife of farm implements. It's why, instead of saying two-wheel tractor, so many people just say BCS. Tractors and attachments are on sale through the end of the year. Visit bcsamerica.com to find sale pricing and your nearest dealer. Whether it's tomatoes to market, flowers in the spring, or vegetables for your family, growing in a greenhouse protected from the weather provides the right environment for a harvest you can count on. Rimmel greenhouses are strong, durable, and easy to assemble, offering the quality that you need to grow productively year-round. Rimmel greenhouses are proudly built right here in America and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. With technical sales staff members located across the country, many with growing experience, the Rimmel Greenhouses team of experts will serve as your trusted partner every step of the way to ensure that you get exceptional value from your greenhouse investment. Visit rimmel.com to get a quote today.
And now, back to the show. Okay, so I want to talk about that farm that you built on it, the infrastructure and stuff and the systems that you got to do right. What does that look like today in terms of how many acres you're farming, the number of enterprises you have going on? I briefly touched on that on the intro, but tell us more. What does Lovin Mama look like as a farm today?
Well, when we first arrived here, we knew from our past farm that we did not want to continue to be a rototiller based farm because we had invested everything into soil health on that first farm. And we created a thriving farm that literally we were on through extreme poverty. We lived through extreme poverty during those years of starting the farm. We had 3 really small children, but we were able to pull ourselves out of that just by regenerating the soil and creating a really thriving farm and a thriving business in the county. But then we realized towards the end of even just 5 years into tillage, that weed pressure was getting worse and worse every year. Like we had definitely repaired some of the soil health issues, but the tillage seemed to be just causing compaction. And we used a lot of overhead irrigation there to get things to germinate because it's just so dry. And that would create like just this compacted layer. And it was just, you could see the soil health that we had like revitalized was starting to kind of decrease. And then no-till was just kind of this new, like we had been researching like crazy our last year or two in Mendocino, but there was just such little information about it. There was like one video on YouTube about some farmers who were doing it. And that was like that was all we had to go off of. And, Rodale was pushing the whole no-till crimper, like large scale till, which we want to experiment with as well. But we just knew that wouldn't really work on our scale. So we just kind of experimented with some no-till. Our first year, we had a microgreens business that was really thriving. That was how we got into Troy Market. They had an immediate opening for a microgreens grower, which it turns out is like the perfect startup crop for a beginning farmer because it's such a quick seed to harvest. And you need just really minimal infrastructure. Like you could literally do it in your basement, or you can build a small greenhouse, which you're going to need anyways for your small farm. You most likely have like a place you can grow microgreens and just immediately have a crop while you start to build out slowly in your field. And that's what we did. So we just did like our first year, we did like 30 beds, 100-foot no-till, like the deep mulch compost. We were probably laying down like 4 inches straight on top of the soil and using like a whole flake of straw in the pathways to kind of hold it all together. Because we did get really heavy rain events. And we thought like naively our first year moving to New York, like it rains all summer. We're not going to need irrigation. This is going to be amazing. And then it was like, oh, yeah, it can go like a few weeks. So the carrots are not going to germinate without water, So we really realized, okay, we need a water system. Then the deer were like eating everything. So we needed a deer fence. We needed propane for all the greenhouses, 2 heated greenhouses, because in order to get starts in time for an organic system, you got to have heat here. But yeah, we just slowly built out. We would just tarp out areas with a big silage tarp. And I think we did one initial, like we had to reclaim the field. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, there was grapevines and rose
We did
bushes,
have to do one plowing, and then we immediately planted a cover crop. And then we just kind of reclaimed it at that point and just stopped tilling and experimented with it. And we just found you had to add a lot at first, like 4 to 6 inches of the best quality you can get. So we were using the municipal yard waste, which we got cleared by our organic certifier to use. And then we were starting to mix it half and half with peat moss. And we've just experimented with other types of compost, the best quality you can get. It slowly evolved over the years, but after 8 years, let's see, this year was our 8th year, and we didn't add anything. We didn't add any compost or fertilizer. We added some azomite, but all the nutrient levels are very high. The plants did great. We have built up a little bit of a weed pressure, and we should honestly probably be called low till because we do use a harrow, just really shallow. But for using those fancy those fancy like market garden tools, the Jang seeder, the paper pot, it's just really helpful to have that perfect seed bed. And we've honestly built up the organic matter so high. It's like gone from 5% when we started to now it's 12%. So that's like amazing. And we are very diversified. So we're, like you said in the intro, we're going like 400 or 500 varieties.
Yeah.
Just crazy amount of varieties. The cut flowers really help blow that number.
Yeah. There's a lot of varieties of flowers.
Yeah. I grow like 30 different zinnias.
I feel like with the bed prep, as Corinne said, if you're going to use a Jang seeder or any micro, like multiple row seeder, or a paper pot transplanter, unless you literally want to hula hoe and rake every inch of your beds that you're flipping, having a rotary harrow, even on a BCS or some small tractor, we have equipment. It's a small Kubota. It's very small. It's a 30 horsepower tractor. But we've done so much with that thing, and it's never quit. And we have built the whole farm with it. Literally, we would just fill the bucket with compost and drive out over the bed because the beds are spaced as the tires fit in perfectly. So we can just drive right over and we can shovel the compost right onto the bed and make a nice mound of it down the center of the whole bed, and then work that in with the harrow, or even just rake that flat sometimes if we're going to transplant. It's always a balance though. Sometimes we're going to transplant and we don't need to harrow the bed because we're transplanting by hand, just putting in plants. If we're going to use the direct seeder or the paper pot to do that bed, then we're going to need to harrow it, or it's going to be a lot of labor. Just if you look at the cost benefit there, it's like we're at the size of our farm that we can't really do that. By the way, size of the farm, we have about a 3-acre field that we've been working since we moved here, which Corinne said that's the first place where I plowed to get rid of the grapevine. And then we sowed a winter rye cover crop in most of the field. And then we started building these no-till beds in the first section. At this point, that whole 3-acre field has been built out with beds.
It's like 2.5 acres of like actual cultivated space.
Okay.
Pathways and a little drainage system, and
there's some perennial.
But we're slowly filling in every square inch. Like we're planting grapes along the fence line. We have a little tiny orchard, but it really helps to have that diversity, and we really like intentionally want that biodiversity. Just having like a drainage pond in our field. It's
frogs,
the amount of
turtles.
Yes, the amount of beneficials in that tiny pond are amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. And they're out there in the field. Their frogs are working.
Yeah, they're eating slugs. Mm-hmm.
And then do you have a deer fence around that area?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
We're trying to fence the whole, but I mean, we are, I think, intentionally farming the whole 10 acres now. So we lease 10 acres out of the whole 120 acre property, which is another beautiful thing in collaboration with the nature preserve, is that we can leave most of the land, wild. And I think that also helps just the pollinator habitat in the woods is amazing. So I love that we can leave, we have fields full of goldenrod around us in the fall. And full of wildflowers all summer. I mean, it's a beautiful property, and we're so blessed to be able to farm on here. But we really do intentionally, like 10 acres is a lot to work with. So we still have a lot of room to grow, but we are slowly like planting more perennials every year.
Yeah, the 3 acres where we have been doing primary production for the whole 8 years has been everything to now. And last year, 2024, we put in 1.5 acres of perennials in a new space. That's sort of brand new. We're going to need to fence that as well.
Yeah.
And then there's a 5-acre field as well, which makes up the rest of the 10 that I've been getting into for about 3 years, been trying to work our way into that field. We've definitely cultivated probably about 1 acre of space in there over the last 2 years successfully. We grow our potatoes out there since there's no deer fence out there. No irrigation. So it's kind of like
I call them our field crops. So we're just experimenting with kind of how to do regenerative, larger scale. Like the potatoes we tried doing in our fancy no-till beds, and it was like, it just didn't work super well. So it's at certain crops you need to scale up to tractor mechanization, I think, to make them, because we're still charging kind of a premium. We charge like $4 a pound for our potatoes. But if we had to do all that by hand and dig them all by hand, I mean, at a certain point, it just becomes like cost prohibitive to grow certain crops in the like fancy no-till beds. So we focus more on like the high value crops in there. Now we're trying to expand out into our larger field, where we do like the field crops, like, onions, garlic, potatoes, winter squash, corn, hopefully small grains eventually. And then we also have infrastructure for like a 250 bird layer hen rotationally grazed coop. So we also have kind of like integrated the chickens throughout the whole process too, where they usually are the first ones working the area before we transition to like the deep mulch no-till beds. But now more that I keep the chickens as far away as possible from the salad greens, just for food safety, but also just because they can destroy things quickly. But we can get creative with the cut flowers, and really integrate the chickens more with the cut flowers because of the organic rules and all the food safety rules, as long as you have 90 days or maybe 120 days. I can't quite remember. And with flowers, it doesn't even matter because as long as they're not edible flowers, the rules are not, they're different.
Right.
Yeah.
You're also marketing year round, right? So let's talk about how you make that work, especially in your climate. And I know for people who are listening to the podcast, you can't see behind Corinne and Matthew right now is a beautiful display of dry flowers. So I know you wanted to talk about that as part of your year round, but I know there's a lot of ways you're extending the season.
Yeah. I mean, drying, I'm like a huge advocate for drying crops. I found out recently that you can dry, at least in my state and according to my county inspector, I can air dry crops in a barn type setting. So you don't need to do that in a certified kitchen. It's got great airflow and it's kind of just a quick dry. So we dry, a lot of herbs from our farm that You have to strategize when you have, only 3 acres or 2.5 acres of bed space. We don't have that space to grow those field crops or those storage crops. So we've had to get really creative in how to go year round. And so drying crops has been dried chilies and dried herbs, dried flowers. We even did dried edible flowers, and they've been selling like really well. Little dried violas and dried bachelor buttons.
Oh,
yeah. And then, I mean, it took like years of work to get here, but we did get I got my 20C license recently, like a year ago. And so I've been working with a local college. They have a shared use. SUNY Cobleskill has a shared use kitchen. And they've really helped me with like recipe development. It's a big deal. You have to get all of your recipes approved. You have to get inspected by the Ag and Markets or Department of Health, and just make sure you do all the record keeping and tracking of everything correctly.
Right.
But it's been a goal for a long time. I grew up in Northern California, grew up canning everything from the garden. So it's kind of like a family heritage. My kids are homeschooled, and like working in the kitchen has been a big part of their education too. So my first day in the kitchen this year, actually, my teenage boys who are 17 and 18, they were like my first day. They came with me because you were, I don't know, running the farm. So to be able to get off the farm and go to a kitchen that's 45 minutes away and make salsa, it took years of preparation.
Yeah. And are you doing the work of that processing? Or, I mean, I also want to talk about the size of your crew. That's another part of your year-round goal, right? Is to be able to offer employment. So how many people do you have on your year-round payroll?
I think it's like 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very part-time this time of year, but we can at least keep them on part-time. Yeah, we're super flexible with our people, but it breaks my heart at the end of the season to be like, okay, bye. Good job. You come back next year. And I really think like we've had like we've never had to advertise for help. Like, I don't know. I'm just so grateful for my crew. We're very cohesive, like family unit. And I know I'm still learning and growing as an employer, but yeah, we had up to like 11 part-time people this summer. And that's not even counting the kids who work a lot on the farm as well. Yeah, our 18-year-old has just told us he wants to work full-time on the farm this year.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. It's an easy like job, but not really. I work him hard.
Yeah.
But he already knows it, and he's got it.
He's grown up doing it. So. Yeah.
And no commute for him.
Right. That's what I mean. Being easy.
Yeah, it's just right there. So you have the processed foods and the dried things. Are you doing microgreens through the winter too, or greenhouse crops?
Yeah. In the winter, we have 3 unheated high tunnels that are spinach and mesclun mix and other mustard greens that can kind of get through the winter without heat, which we, of course, have to cover with remay on really cold events, and then maybe open the remay during a sunny day and then close it back up again. So right now that's what we're doing right now is on this cold spell here, we're having to cover these crops with frost blankets every night.
So cold today.
And open them up so the sun can hit that black soil and make it nice and warm in there and get them maybe woken up a little bit. And then we have 2 heated greenhouses. One is just for crops in the ground, and that one had lettuce until about New Year's, about Christmas time, we cut the last of the lettuce in there. And then there's chard in there and kale as well. And we have then the propagation house with tables that's heated to about 45 in the winter, which grows our microgreens and all our starts and whatnot. So that's sort of what's actively growing in the winter on the farm that keeps us going to markets throughout the winter. Of course, we have stored crops as well. The onions, potatoes, and garlic is what we have for storage crops right now. And that keeps us going with all those dried goods going to market all winter.
Do you overall scale back your sales goals in the winter? Like, is there a winter vibe to the season for you, or are you just going year round?
Yeah, it slows down. I mean, customership drops a lot at the winter markets. I'm like a real big advocate at my market boards for like extending the outdoor season as long as possible, especially our big market. It's just really it's almost like a festival atmosphere. And so when they move indoors, I don't know, it just kind of loses that. There's something about the street being closed down and traffic not being able to go through. It's just really special. So yeah, I find that our sales are a lot stronger outdoors. But that's the big, I think, drive behind like starting this Etsy shop is figuring out if we can have, as much as we're so committed to feeding our community, we also, the realities of running a business and being able to like, pay everyone a living wage. I want to keep working on increasing that and figure out how to give my employees benefits. Like it's just so expensive to do all of that. So, accessing the national market is basically when you do online marketing, your market opens up so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm learning a lot about internet. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I think there's a whole like way to do internet. I'm so used to direct marketing with our customers and like telling our story face to face. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that online.
Yeah. How has it been going so far? I mean, what has the response been?
Amazing.
Etsy stores, slowly
weird.
picking up, I feel like.
The most surprising thing sold. I don't know if I should give my secret away.
Well, it'll be a couple months before this comes out. I'm sure you'll have a new secret by then.
Yeah. The thing is that sometimes something doesn't sell on your farmer's market stand, and then you put it on Etsy and it sells out.
It does not sell on the market.
It's like the best case scenario for us too, because we're like, one thing that wouldn't sell here, but now will sell here.
It helps you identify your market, and that's, I think, a lot of marketing is like identifying who wants your product and then telling the story of how is your product going to benefit them? How's it going to solve their problem?
Okay.
So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about marketing.
So something that you have on there is selling really well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just tell you guys, it's Sweet Annie.
Oh, just dried sweet Annie.
Yeah, it's like crafters who are making. It's also really fragrant. It has that old fashioned.
And it's an herb too, right?
So I think it might be a medicinal herb, but I'm not sure. It's like wormwood.
Well, yes, right. It is.
Artemisia family.
It's an Artemisia.
We haven't figured it out, but besides the fact that they like it, so. But I think
it's lovely.
We hear a lot too about like certain farms do really well in the winter, right? They do even better in the winter. In fact, some farms are like, let's stop growing in the summer and just grow in the winter. And we're going, wait a second, our markets die off so much. We're not making as much. Like, how did they get to that point? Either way, I feel like doing the online business that we're shifting towards and opening this in brick and mortar location is all a big push to have stronger winters for our business, because farmers markets, they come and go, and you get some good ones and then you get some bad ones, and you get your winters that aren't good for us. So we have to take up that slack somehow. We have to figure out what other markets we need to be in to, online or brick and mortar markets that we need to be at to make this farm succeed better in the winter.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're trying a bunch of different things and finding success. It is always the challenge, and a bit of a quandary too, in terms of, how avoiding burnout and things too by having winters off. It's always a balance there. So, but it sounds like you've got a good thing going right now. So congrats there. So you've talked about this already, but I want to dive a little deeper into soil health and the descriptors you use for your farm, like regenerative, and you've chosen to be certified organic. So it's very clear you're very dedicated to ideas of sustainability. And I just love to hear you talk a little bit more about those choices and what inspires them and what you're seeing in terms of your success with your goals.
Okay. I love this question. Yeah.
It's clearly something you two are passionate about. It's very clear in the language you use on your website and on your social media. So it's not a small goal, it seems like, for you.
It's definitely a driving force behind our business is building soil health and building habitat for beneficial insects. I think like we originally started the farm to just for our kids to have access, for us and our kids, we've always gardened and grown our own food. And I grew up kind of like on a homestead farm in Northern California, and we canned everything that we grew. My dad hunted, like we really lived off the land. So it's kind of deeply ingrained in me. But also just as a mother, like I really want my kids to have access to organic food. It's really important to me because I can read the science and I know the dangers of highly processed foods. So I'm really passionate about public health. And I feel like as organic farmers, especially as like regenerative organic farmers, I do think we're a little bit undervalued by the USDA. And I think that we could just solve so many health problems and environmental problems, because organic farms, through soil health, it's just such a solution oriented job being an organic farmer, because we're building soil health. And actually, like the NOP, the National Organic Program, requires that we build soil health. That's part of the National Organic Program's like requirements. Yet they allow hydroponics to be certified, and they allow cathos to be certified. And it just seems like it's going in direct contrast to their rules. And so that's like why I got involved in the Real Organic program, the Real Organic Project, is because, I know that a lot of certifications can get confusing for customers, but it is a good starting point, especially when you're direct marketing. It's a great conversation starter to explain like what's the Real Organic Project, and to explain really what regenerative is, and what, we had a sign for a long time at our market stand was like, ask me about regenerative farming methods. And we just spent a lot of time talking with our customers and explaining that the work we're doing is sequestering carbon into the soil. We're creating habitat for beneficials, we're major ecosystem services. Like without pollinators, we don't have apples, we don't have pumpkins. It's literally like an existential crisis with the chemicals that we're spraying on our crops. It's like, as organic farmers, we're like the lifeboat of the planet. I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And I'm really passionate about that, because we're doing this really hard work. Matthew was explaining, like, we're literally hand shoveling compost. Like, so many no-till farmers are wheelbarrowing their compost onto their land, and like literally shoveling. We're like the earth core and engineers. We're laying all this organic matter down, and the huge benefits are being brought to the planet as far as climate change, as far as habitat for beneficials.
Yeah. When we learned that you add fertility to the soil and you take care of the soil health, you grow bigger plants. And that means that the plants are taking up more carbon out of the atmosphere and fixing it into their bodies, which is exactly what all the green energy folks are telling us is what we need to do, right? Is to sequester more carbon so that we're reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, I mean, we know that we're doing the work that makes that more powerful and more positive on our farm, and we're feeding people with those plants, and we're making enough money to survive as farmers, probably even a little bit better than most farmers, because it's a very small amount of space that we're growing food on. But through our practices that take care of the soil health, we're producing more food in that square feet than most farms would, because we do the extra labor of pulling out the organic matter from the last crop and replanting sometimes the same day. And so we're being very efficient too.
Yeah, we're maximizing yields per acre with our soil health practices. So it's like all tied. That's the beauty of regenerative agriculture, like true regenerative. I know that word is getting a little greenwashed these days, but I mean, whatever word you want to use, it's organic. That's why I like just kind of using the word organic, because the NFP standards do say we have to commit to soil health practices, like that's just such a simple statement. That wouldn't it be amazing if organic farmers like got paid for increasing organic matter in their soil? Like, wouldn't that maybe solve some of these climate issues? And then maybe what if we also got subsidized for using, like, we use biodegradable packaging, which, I know it's corn based, so I know it's probably GMO corn. It's not, maybe arguably it might not be any better than plastic. I don't know, but at least like we're trying to use a biodegradable product.
I think it's better than plastic.
I think it's better than plastic, but
I think it's probably better than plastic too. Yeah.
It's expensive. It's a lot more expensive than plastic. So we have to integrate like all of those practices, all that labor we put into the soil health. We have to integrate that into our pricing. And because we're not subsidized by the USDA, vegetables get just a tiny percentage of the total funding for farms.
I think
it's true.
What we're saying here is that, like, even though there's a huge push for the green move, the eco move right now, like we're seeing it worldwide, right? We're still kind of back in the dark ages with how these things happen, right? We're not getting paid as organic farmers to put this compost down.
The burden lies on us.
Right.
The burden's lying on us to kind of fix the problem in a way.
And like we were just at a NOFA conference and people were talking about the PFAS, this contaminated soils in Maine and other areas of the country where the PFAS is, the forever chemical.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay. And we were talking about that, and someone brought up, well, in Europe, they're having the companies that made those chemicals are then required to go clean them up for the
They have to bear the
See, right? So what I'm trying to say is
That seems like a pretty great idea.
right, and they have the money too. The thing is, that's not happening here yet, right? So we're, like I said, we're still kind of behind the times with the way these things are happening, right?
Yeah.
But as farmers, we're trying to be real time, current, good for the planet right now, you know, and
we have to build our own systems. Like that's kind of why I think we keep innovating like new industries on our farm. Like we have to be the leaders. We have to step up and like create the stores, create the farmers market, grow the food. Like we literally are creating products with our work every day. So it's now like we're very confident and we're able to go out and build businesses in our communities and offer low income food, you know, figure out ways to partner with nonprofits to get subsidized food boxes. There's a lot of programs out there that will help subsidize the cost of vegetables. But, you know, it's so much work when you're trying to run a farm, you're trying to add all these enterprises, and then you have to write for grants, and then you have to do your activism work at the Capitol. Like, it's nonstop. It's nonstop.
Yeah, you're wearing a lot of hats every day.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good segue. Corinne, you've done a lot of work beyond the farm, especially lately. You've written articles for Growing for Market. You do consulting work with other farmers. As I said in the intro, you were also just named Northeast Organic Farm Association of New York's Farmer of the Year. You were the keynote speaker at that conference, and you speak regularly at other farmer events. Can you tell us more just about your goals with sharing your knowledge and experience, and what's been the feedback on all this work?
Oh, yeah, I love sharing. I mean, farmer to farmer is honestly how I've learned so much, just from talking to other farmers. And yeah, I just really want to share the knowledge with everybody. And so writing is just a great way for me to kind of like organize. Like, I think there's so much chaos in my head that sitting down and writing, it's like helps me survive all of it. But yeah, I love writing. I'm writing another article right now for Growing for Market.
Oh, yay.
With Cut Flower. And yeah, I'm hoping to write. I want to keep writing. So there's more writing in my future. I dream of like taking a sabbatical. So it's all about setting the farm up to a place where I can really walk away for a little bit of time and get some writing projects done. But yeah, being keynote speaker at NOFA New York, it was like a really last minute conference. They were going to do it online, and they pivoted in like September to do a conference, and they just did like a one-day conference at this small SUNY Morristown. It's a very small state college. So they could only have 200 people. It was a very small event. But I'm still like, I was on stage with, right after I spoke, Senator Hansch, who's the head of the Ag Committee, spoke about like almost the same topic that I had, which we were just talking about, which was food access for low income or chronically ill people. So I like have to write a thank you letter to her and be like, let's work together on food for everybody. Because yeah, I got to participate also in the Birds and the Bees Protection Act that was passed in 2023, I think, the very end of the year. Yeah, the governor signed it after like 3 years of this coalition working super hard to get this passed. This was to ban neonicotinoid corn seeds and soy seed, and I think like lawn seed. And sadly, the Farm Bureau was saying this is bad for farmers. Farmers need neonicotinoid seeds. But Cornell had done like 1,000 peer-reviewed studies and found that neonics brought no net benefit to farmers. And then the health
effects. Just a few studies, just a few. Yeah, like 1,000.
Yeah, like 1,000. No net benefit. Now they actually pay more for this seed. And then most of it washes off into our watersheds. It's highly toxic. It's like a neurotoxin. It's getting into our bodies. It's getting into our watersheds. And then it's destroying the pollinators and the bees. It's literally causing like mass die-off of bees and other pollinators and dragonflies. A lot of the water insects, it's getting into the water and affecting a lot of the water larvae. Songbirds will die when they eat one seed. It's just it's like the worst chemical since DDT.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Like, did we not learn?
I know. And I mean, I see the effect. It affects me as an organic. I just had to speak up. I'm like, I'm an organic farmer. And no, this is not good for farmers. We need pollinators. Like I rely on beneficial insects for my pest control on my farm. So yeah, I was able to put a little pressure on one senator because she had come to my farm and shaken my hand and looked me in the eye and said she would be a champion for soil health. And we know that neonics, if they're getting into the soil, they're most likely killing soil microbes and not a good thing for soil health. So it's amazing just how using your voice, just little old me running my business over here, but they actually listen to us. And so like through that experience, we finally got it up to a vote and passed, and the governor at the last hour signed it despite pressure. It's hard when you have pressure from your farm bureau. Also, the chemical industry was pressuring people not to sign the bill, not to vote for it. So yeah, it was really empowering to see that, that my voice mattered. And I just really want to encourage other farmers, just remind us of how powerful we are. And just like you said, we wear so many hats. We do everything from like setting a farm, doing the soil health. At that point, that's like fun for me now to just go out to the farm and just pull some weeds. It's like really therapeutic. But, now I'm spending more and more time like writing grants, endless grants, just because the infrastructure development's like never ending.
I was going to ask if you've gotten any useful grants for infrastructure development.
Yeah. I just want to say one more thing about mentoring. I get to mentor 2 beginning farmers through the TOPS program, which I can never remember. Transitioning to Organic program is some grant that New York State got. I think every region has one where you can sign up to be a mentor to a farmer who's transitioning or just a beginning farmer thinking about the organic certification. And so it's like a small stipend for the mentor, and the mentee gets like just a lot of support, and you get a conference paid for that you're encouraged to go with your mentor. It's just been so fun to mentor 2 beginning farmers. They were actually both retired folks who have pensions, have this dream of running a farm, but it was really great to work with them. I'm still working with one of my mentees again. And yeah, just love the farmer to farmer trainings. That's everything.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, as far as
better
grants,
late than never too, in terms of
and we
the
need
retirement goals.
Oh yeah, totally. Grants. Oh yeah, the big one I got was the value added producers grant. That one took like hundreds of hours of preparation. I worked with like a nonprofit to help me write it the first time and didn't get it. They encouraged me to try again. Second time's the charm. And the great thing about these big government grants is they will usually give you feedback.
Oh, that's great.
And these grants come up every year. So if you get the feedback, you can kind of apply that, fix the problems. And I got it my second time around. So it was for like just under 50,000. I did like the simplified version, which was still very complex, but that felt really good. So that's going to help me with my online marketing and just growing our value added side of the business. So yeah, don't give up on these grants. I mean, they're hard, and they help you as a business owner, like become better at your finances and become better at your record keeping. And I just take every challenge as like a way to just level up, get better. And like I just finally hired a bookkeeper and an accountant. It's just really empowering to get support with that, where I've just been in survival mode for so long. Just kind of doing the best that I could. And I've learned a lot. I'm glad I did all the books for that long and understood it for that long. And now I can really understand it. I know what they're talking about. But just getting everything in the right place, learning depreciations correctly, it's really complicated.
I agree. Those are definitely another one of those hats that maybe some farmers don't expect to wear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, so looking to the future, Corinne and Matthew, do you see any long-term challenges for Lovin Mama Farm, and what kind of steps are you taking to meet those?
I thought about this, and I feel like the farm is still really reliant on you and I, like pulling crazy long days. Even though we have an amazing crew and so much support, it's still like so much of the success of the business relies on us pulling long hours. So I think we still need to crack that code of the work-life balance for sure. I don't know. I'm hoping it's weird, like the whole scaling thing. I think I don't know that you ever stop scaling. I mean, I hope I keep scaling into evolving in different ways. But yeah, I feel like just figuring out how to get us out of not have the farm so reliant on us to survive. Mm-hmm. Especially as we grow into different leadership roles or start different businesses, like that's the only option. So yeah, it's a puzzle to solve still.
I feel like, of course, it's a lot better than it has been with that. Like we're doing a lot less manual labor than we used to, and we're pulling less total hours than we used to as well. However, we're still tied to pretty much most tasks because we don't have standard procedures, SOPs for every single task yet. There's a lot of just housekeeping stuff, having everything kept in a certain spot so that when it's low, that someone can order more of them. Mm-hmm. We need just everything to be super organized and SOPs written for everything, just that. So that's
setting our
I
systems
agree.
up. We need to keep, I don't know that you ever finalize them. Maybe some people are that organized, but we're slowly growing into.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get close enough that it's going to be just fine. Things change, there's always hiccups, but.
And I think there's so much pressure on farmers too to like have to, of course we have to keep records, but everybody sets their systems up differently, and you have to set up like a system of organizing the chaos that works for you. So it doesn't have to look like what other farmers are doing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like you still need to keep records, yes, but you need to just set up a system. Everyone's system is unique and different, and it's okay to do it different than like the pros are doing it or whatever. As long as you're keeping records and you have a plan, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Every farm ends up looking different. That's for sure. In fact, I think there, you were talking about there's only one YouTube video when you were doing your no-till. Now there's so many resources, which in some ways is great, but I also hope that new farmers out there, don't get wedded to one online course or one book and think their farm has to look exactly like that. I hope that they'll see the many educational options and see the differences and realize, okay, I can take from here and take from here and take from here and develop something uniquely mine.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's my hope.
Yes.
I think it definitely, like, before someone gets deep into farming, you need to go to different farms and see how they do it on different farms, like at least 20 or something, like a lot. Because the thing is the more you do that, the more you go to different farms, you see that nobody does it exactly the same. Every single farm is doing it differently. And they have their reasons. They have the reasons of why they do that. It is that's how it works for them due to the circumstances that they're in,
But we can learn from other farmers, like, oh, I never thought of that way of being more efficient and blankety blank, like I'll go to conferences. Like I'm so excited to go to workshops because there's like always some little nugget that I can take away, even if it's just one or two things that I get out of the conference. It's like, oh yeah, that really was profound.
Oh, 100%. Farm visits, conferences are the best. I have a conference coming up next month. I'm excited. So also, I always like to ask everybody, our audience is mostly either direct market farmers or people who want to be farmers. And I'm just always curious about people's favorite tips or tricks. Like, is there any best thing that you and your team have done for your farm so far or in the last year? I'm sure you guys have probably had many good things over the long history of your farm, but what's one you want to pass on?
Hopefully this will pertain to most people. We have multiple markets, and in our main walk-in where we have all the cold room stuff, we always put stuff that's going to a market in its own pile so that when you're loading vans, it's always right there. The funny thing is of course, we have all these different rooms now. We have tomato rooms, and for some reason, we weren't doing that in the tomato room. And so, like this year, I was like, you know what we need to do next year? We need to do the same thing. We need to have piles set aside for each market so that on the market morning, when it's really early and you need to move really fast, that it's just take everything from that pile and go instead of having to sort through things. So there's one.
That's great.
Pre-sort your tomatoes before market. Yeah. We do 3 markets on a Saturday morning, and one of them is like a box truck, like filled to the brim, big market. So it gets chaotic and you have to get there by, like 7 to set up. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah. So as much as you can prepare, I'm sure is helpful before that.
Sometimes in the fall, there's like some nice nights where it's like 60 degrees. You can just like load the truck the night before. But so for the cut flowers, we switched to using is it concrete mesh?
Concrete remesh, it's called.
Okay.
It's the reinforcement mesh that they use for pouring concrete.
You can get the pre-cut sheets at the hardware store. They're very expensive, but we've like slowly been investing in them every year and building cages out of them. They're like a reusable cage that you can just put right on top of the bed for the cut flowers. Like we get such heavy winds and rains here that we have to trellis every single cut flower. Besides like the real like sunflowers and amaranth. Even those, we actually have to corral those because they'll get so top heavy, they'll just bend. And then when they bend, they grow at a right angle and you don't have a sellable stem. So you have to support them. And then also we used it for our bell peppers this year. Mm-hmm. But we used to use, it's just been such a time saver. They're so light and easy to cover over the bed versus like pounding posts and stringing portatrellis or string. It's just so fast, and I really recommend people think about that.
So is it the flexible mesh panels or are they rigid?
It's pretty rigid, but you can bend the metal pretty easily. I guess it's about, I don't know, maybe just under a quarter of an inch thick wire, sort of like.
You do have to, you have to cut through the corners and cut the corners out and then bend them up to make like a cage.
Okay.
But it was great. Like I'm always trying to think of jobs in the winter for my crew that stays on. So it's really nice to have little projects like that for them to do in the winter. So yeah, we just like every winter would buy like a flat, I don't know what they're called, like a case of them.
A unit.
And make more cages.
And now then we use them. We put them along the side of our fence line to store them this winter. And we put the irrigation pipes up on top of there to hopefully keep the rodents.
So the rodents don't move into the pipes.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd say though, as a more broad view recommendation for farmers and folks, only grow what you know you have the market to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Do not go bonkers growing this thing because you want to grow a lot of it.
You got to grow what your customer wants.
Yeah. And you don't want to do the extra work and labor of growing something if you don't know that you can sell it. This is one of the things that's been a major tenant in our farm. And I think is a big reason we are so successful, because we're conserving that energy. And then instead we're planting every 2 weeks of a lot of crops that we need to, the lettuce, the radishes, we're planting every 2 weeks. So it's a slow burn, right? We're continually cranking out just the right amount of produce to get to market every weekend. This is, I think, whether it be cut flowers or whether it be lettuce or whatever it is that you're growing, if you're having a farmer's market gig like we do, that's what we professionalize in. So that's all the help I can give you. I'm not going to talk about wholesale. Grow the right amount for that market and make sure to do it every weekend so that you can have a continued presence at that market, because that builds your customership. When they know they can come and find it because you're going to have it, that's one of those things that customers really like. They want you to be dependable. And that'll help you do it, because you won't be working so hard to get that one crop in and then you didn't sell it. That might not have been worth it, right? You should probably focus just on having it just enough every weekend.
Good advice. I hope that folks who are listening will heed it. I'm sure they will. Thank you so much, Corinne and Matthew. This was great. How can people find you if they want to connect more about the farm or Corinne's consulting work? What's the best way?
Well, our website has a lot of information. It's just lovinmamafarm.com. And then Instagram is the same, Lovin Mama Farm. And Facebook, I think, is the same.
Okay.
Farm.
Lovin Mama Farm. Sounds like they search that, they'll find you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was great and inspiring. And it's winter now as we interview, so I hope you have some good restful time before things start ramping up again, and have a great season.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Growing for Market podcast. If you've been enjoying the show, please consider giving us a follow and a rating or review. It really helps others find the podcast. For more tips and information from farmer to farmer, check out our magazine at growingformarket.com. Whether you're a commercial grower or just want to grow like one, subscribe to Growing for Market magazine for the nitty-gritty of growing, marketing, and the business of market farming. We publish 10 issues per year with articles written by experienced farmers on topics ranging from tools and techniques to farm business operations and marketing. If you've been listening to the Growing for Market podcast and you haven't yet checked out Growing for Market magazine, we've made a change so you can try the magazine for free. We've added a free month to the beginning of all first-time subscriptions. Try out the digital or paper magazine, and if it's not for you, cancel within 28 days and you'll never get billed. With digital subscriptions starting at just $39 per year, You get a year of the magazine, plus over 150 back issues from the last 15 years. Head on over to growingformarket.com and subscribe today to benefit from over 3 decades of writing by farmers, for farmers, in Growing for Market magazine.